Hey Tubes, Jonathan's wrong here. Truth and budget. So here's a real quick one. So I've lived in Massachusetts for about 25 years or so, and if you've ever spent time in Massachusetts, walked around, wandered around, spent time on the coast, spent time in the woods, the terrain's very unnatural, and what they will tell you is that because of the glacier movements. Is what formed all the, put all the huge rocks everywhere. There's huge rocks placed randomly. The swirling shape of like the Cape and Hull and other areas, all the islands, and everything they say was formed by glaciers. That's complete bullcrap. We both know that's crap. That isn't true. And we just know that isn't true, period. But if you look at the landscape, it is clearly like evidence of the flood, of the Great Flood. It's all hills. There's stuff carved out. There's it's all swirly all everywhere. There's massive rocks, everywhere. It is if you flushed something out, and then there was an exit point into like a larger body of water, that's what the whole area of Massachusetts would look like. That's what it is. That's why you get these massive rocks just tossed about everywhere, and the hills and the shapes, and there's the shape of everything. The water ran through here. This was one of the main exiting points. And you see evidence of the flood everywhere else, elsewhere. You see the ancient ruins, pre-flood ruins. There's huge monoliths that are thrown about. They're just tossed about. The only thing that could do that is water. Look at things like the derp. Gosh darn it, the Grand Canyon. Now, even they say that it happened quick. They don't know how. But it happened quick. So yeah. So if you look at all these naturally occurring, the stuff like plateaus, all this stuff all over the Midwest, that the Midwest landscape is known for. It's flat. It's okay. Imagine this: a bunch of water comes dumping out of the sky, and just pounds the earth, and just fills it. What's it going to look like? It's going to be flat, and and there's going to be grooves, and there's going to be plateau-like shapes and areas. All right, what is the runoff going to look like? It's going to be strung out in pulled areas and trails and hills and flotsam and jetsam everywhere. What is the coast? Look at and I grew up in the Northwest, where the coast is all cliffs. It's all just massive cliffs. Like there's beach, but then then it's boom, big clay cliff. So yeah, you see evidence for the flood all over the place. But they tell us that it's glaciers, and that they slowly did this, because it's always a slow process, because they need so much. It's okay. What do liars do? Liars bide their time. All right. What do lawyers do? Lawyers push for a continuation. All right. People full of crap want to drag things out. Okay. I'm realizing this right now as I'm saying it. The fact that they need all this time scale for every single one of their lies should be indicative that they're liars. Every single one of your processes takes trillions of years. Sorry, billions, because it makes a difference. Listen, anyone out there who isn't in the know, all right, you can't wrap your head around 500 billion years. You can't. You can't wrap your head around 1,000 years. You can't. Are you really saying that you understand the concept of 350 billion years? I know you see numbers. I know you like, oh, you know, you can see a number and you recognize a number, but can you really understand 350 million years worth of time? Can you really wrap your head around that? Can you really wrap your head around any of these concepts that they have that are so huge? You can't. You want to sound smart, so you say that you do, but you can't. No one can imagine something that is, you know, infinitely huge. All right? I know you know, anyone who isn't in the know, you would love to think you're a genius. That's why you're really into science, because it gives you it gives you a medium to sound like a smart person. If you read your scientific publications, you know, you can walk into a conversation and sound like an intelligent guy. You know, sound like, you know, an authority. All right? I get the mindset, but for people who are capable of critical thinking and don't want to use scientism as, you know, a crutch, as armor, as, you know, something to make you feel better about yourself, you know, I don't know, it's just so obvious. Like, are you telling me that enormous blocks of ice slowly dragged their way through Massachusetts and carved it up like this? Take a ride through Massachusetts. Are you kidding me? If it was a big hunk of ice, it would just flatten everything else like the Midwest. All right? It wouldn't be hilly. Were there massive hunks of ice that are thousands of tons in weight pushing across everything, it would just smear everything out. It'd act like a big effing squeegee and flatten everything out. It'd be the exact opposite of the terrain. You know? Duh! 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 I get so mad sometimes that people just literally cannot. Just think. Just think. Think. Stop and think. Think about what they're telling you and then picture it in your head. Don't just accept information and then be like, all right, that's fact. Someone told me it. That's insane. That's an insane way to think. If you actually don't think about any information and you just accept it and then regurgitate it and think that's how things are in the world, that's insane. That's so crazy. You know, I get so mad sometimes. People are like, oh, you're crazy because you think all this stuff. No, idiot, you're crazy because you don't think about anything. You take super important concepts and you let someone else work it out for you. And then you don't think about it, and then you accept that as your reality. That's nuts. These people who are going to decide that there's no God, you're deciding so much based on nothing, based on unvetted information that you even yourself haven't considered. Because I know that you haven't considered it because you can't discuss it. Anytime I try to have a debate with one of these people, they can't talk about anything that they know. They can regurgitate statements and little factoids, quote unquote, but they can't tell you why and how. They can't explain any of it. Just like those idiots that use words that they don't know the definitions for. I'm making myself lightheaded. I don't know, man. Either way, take a walk and look around, all right? Okay? Like, what they're telling you is obviously lies. I will go back to another video I made. Where did all the water come from? I think that's one of the best points I've ever made. There's water under the earth everywhere that just comes up, just comes out of the earth everywhere all the time, all over the place. Except in certain areas that they tell you used to be forests. This This area used to be a forest. Oh, really? Oh, really? I don't think so. I don't think it was. I think all those massive deserts, I think those were watering points. If I could get my hands on an actual map of what the Earth actually looks like, I can actually plot these areas and see if there's a band. If someone could do that for me, that'd be nice. I could probably do it myself too, with enough pieces of paper and maybe two devices for quick cross reference. The thing with cross reference is you have to be able to do it quickly. It's otherwise you're just taking too many notes. You're trying to memorize too much stuff, and you're going to burn yourself out. You need to be able to look to one really quickly. Blah blah blah. But either way, all these massive flat areas, all these big, they all share, similar terrain. There's plateaus, there's blasted out areas, there's flatness. All right, that is an indication to me that a bunch of water got dumped on them. Seems pretty friggin' obvious. Then you look at coastal areas, and it's a jagged, rocky, hilly mess. All right? You know what? They can do these things like you can do experiments in like your backyard with stuff, with kiddie pools and dirt and like water, you can prove so much stuff with just practical science, real science, actual experimentation, and not just masturbatory math, making up equations, to have it mean something. Tesla said it. I didn't know that Tesla said it. I just thought it was obvious. Tesla said they've replaced experimentation with massive equations that spiral out of control. I've been calling it masturbatory math, or hieroglyphic math. It's just BS. No one can read it but them, and it doesn't mean anything anyway. I've seen equations. You've probably seen it too, where like 0.999 is equal to zero. Equal to 1. There's all sorts of stuff you can do with math, and they're so quick to be like, oh, math is perfect and finite, and it's one, derp. No. As soon as you can manipulate it with all these little extra little things, it's now highly mutable. Other than the fact that unless you're part of the club, you can't read any of that crap anyway, which is why I call it hieroglyphs. It could say absolutely nothing. When you see they'll have like 3 chalkboards with one equation on it. Are you effing kidding me? Are you effing kidding me? Do you really think there's anything that complex that requires that much math? Are you kidding me? Stuff is simple. The biology of things is complicated, yes, but physics is simple. The way things operate is simple. Everything is simple. You don't need 3 full chalkboards full of equation to explain anything. Are you kidding me? And that's supposed to explain some complex, it's a theory anyway. It's like, oh, this is a complex mechanic, superfluid, derp. No! These things don't exist. Just because you could Frankenstein a bunch of numbers together doesn't friggin' mean anything. It's not how it works. Other than the fact that they're just numbers. I mean, think about it. Think about someone making an equation for like the movements needed for walking down the street. They do crap like that. It's meaningless. It's just a bunch of numbers. They're like, okay, this is a math equation that represents this. Are you effing kidding me? You know what it represents? A bunch of numbers. It's a bunch of numbers. It doesn't mean, like, what? Like, actually think about stuff. Think about it. Actually think about it. How can something be represented by a bunch of numbers? You know? Like numbers are a thing. Look at pi. Look at pi. Really? It's really that? It just keeps going? It's really. This stuff's so dumb. It's so dumb. What? All right, I'm like breaking my brains now. This video should have been over a little while ago. I don't know, man. It's so obvious. Stuff's so obvious. You just gotta look around you. Just gotta take a look around you. Actually think. Would a huge ice cube make a bunch of hills and put rocks everywhere? Oh, but they're gonna tell you it was slowly melting as it got to the coast. Where it's colder. If it's gonna melt in the salt water. I don't know. It's dumb. It's dumb. Tell your friends. It's dumb. Tell your friends it's dumb. I love you guys. I am not doing what I'm supposed to, and I'm just like cruising around screaming at my teleo phone. My teleo. And yeah. I love you guys so much. Have a beautiful day and God bless.